What's something that is romantic in movies, but creepy in real life? Those elaborate plots that trick the other person into falling for you. How do you even trick a person to fall for you if they are not into you? That's never going to work. Yet in movies it always does. And the trick part implies it's lying to or forcing the other person. How is that in any way a healthy base for a relationship of any kind? This isn't a movie, but I always think of the Tumblr post where you give someone their favorite candy every time you see them, and then fear Pavlov's dogged into liking you. Stopping someone's wedding and asking them to be with you. Really? You couldn't shoot your shot before the wedding? It's not a surprise event. You're really going to embarrass everyone involved and destroy their wedding day when you could have just showed up last Wednesday? Or ditching your wedding at the last minute for some woman you only met once. Looking at you. Serendipity. Casually stalking who they are pursuing. Especially if they are a police officer or FBI agent and they just casually look up their interest in the database. Not taking no for an answer. Yes, I love the movie still. But the scene in The Notebook, when Noah literally just dangles from the top of the Ferris wheel and essentially threatens suicide. If someone who has only met a couple times who has a boyfriend won't agree to go out with him is pure insanity. If you don't have a gun to your head, and a gun to your crush's head, then it's not real love. Bumping into the same person over and over again. I think that's called intercourse. An overdramatic proposal in front of a bunch of strangers. There was a scene in Love, Simon where one of Simon's best friends is subject to a public proposal in front of the entire school, and she then has to suffer the horror of publicly turning him down because she doesn't like him in that way. I sunk down in my chair in the cinema and had to look away. Super cringe. But at least they actually showed how that would play out realistically. I had a guy ask me out in front a third of the school before one of the 3 lunch blocks, with a huge sign that took multiple people to hold. I cried, which he mistook as happy tears, and assumed we were dating now. I had to super awkwardly let him down once we were alone. Extremely old vampires dating 16-year-olds. Imagine being so creepy and low life that after 100 years of lifetime and having superpowers, you still go to a local high school every day to stalk teenage girls. I never understood why he still went to high school when he clearly despised it, even though it says he was turned at / looks 17. Couldn't they just say he was 18 and recently graduated? Seems like a dumb reason to repeat high school 20 times. Literally everything in the 50 Shades movies. Therapists dating or having sex with their patients. Oh, but they have such a deep connection. Apostrophe. No. That's a malpractice lawsuit in the making. Obsessive and unrequited love, sometimes spanning years, that ultimately succeeds because the less interested party gets worn down and realizes they're a big dummy and they loved them after all. It's super weird, but apparently it does happen. My GF was in a wedding for 2 people like this. The guy was obsessed with the girl in high school, but she never gave him the time of day. They stayed friends in college. She started developing feelings for him that sort of cascaded into her obsessing over him. But he had been friend-zoned so long that he didn't notice any of the hints. Now they're married and still completely obsessed with each other. When couples are fake dating and trying to convince their family, then the family forces them to kiss in front of everyone to prove their love. No family would ever do this in real life. It's ducking weird. Like, please, make out in front of Nana and your Uncle Ken. Wouldn't the faking a relationship part the more weird thing here? I'm not aware that that would happen anywhere outside movies. Pursuing someone who is already in a relationship. Hitting on a client or customer. In movies the employee who does that is often charming and good looking, and it is reciprocated. In real life it is a fast way to get fired. Breaking into your crush's house and laying on their bed. Movies. AWW, he misses her, that's sweet. Real life, you going to jail. Relentlessly pursuing an ex who clearly doesn't want you back. Sorry dude, leaving wine and roses in your ex-girlfriend's car while she's at work isn't cute. It's super creepy and stalkerish. Breaking through airport security to profess your love. Have fun getting tased and sent to prison, jackass. Running through an airport at all just to make some dramatic scene about how you do love them after all, or whatever. Just wait till they land. and give them a call. Jesus. Chasing someone who already said no multiple times. If someone is already in a relationship trying to break them up. Love at first sight. No. That's just lust and desire. Maybe more disgusting than creepy, but having spontaneous sex than just putting their clothes back on and going about their day without even cleaning themselves up. Oh boy. I worked with a waitress whose BF would cream pie her before work like 3 days a week. How do I know, you ask? Because she would brag about it to staff and customers. Exclamation mark. And how much she loved walking around in soggy panties because it made her think of him. Showing up everywhere. Stalking. Keep pursuing someone after no. Watching people sleep. Looking at you twilight. When they fight too much and always shut each other up with a kiss. Noah and Ali had nothing in common. Still that seemed romantic somehow. The Notebook. I had never seen the movie, so my girlfriend decided that we would watch it together. I have never seen a couple so bizarrely matched. They fight literally every scene. She slaps him every other scene. He screams at her every other scene as well. Also, they are incapable of communicating their feelings, so they get into multiple misunderstandings throughout the movie. And in the future this man decides that it's a good plan to try and have a romantic relationship with a woman with Alzheimer's, even though she does not remember him for most of the time. This is not romance. Forced kisses to shut up. My guy. She's being emotional and trying to work through her feelings and all you do is claim her lips. No. In The Notebook, Ryan Gosling's character literally built a house for his ex-girlfriend a decade after they split, who is now married to somebody else. Imagine if that was real life. Imagine your teenage boyfriend out of the blue just built a house and expected you to move in with him. Creepy AF. Turning up at your door with flowers. I once had a chap do this to me. I'd cancelled the first date as I got a creepy vibe from him. He stalked me online, found my address, drove 3 hours, and turned up with a dozen red roses. Luckily I got a family member to answer the door and say I wasn't there, as he texted me half an hour before to ask whether I was home. I later let him know that this was not okay. I once was on a first date with this girl and this ex of hers asked her what she was up to. Since it was just the first date she said she was with a friend. He asked if she wanted to be with her friend or get some dick. Not kidding. She says him hoping for both tonight. Figuring he would get the hint and told him to not come as she wasn't interested. This motherfucker shows up the next day at her house, which I was still at for obvious reasons, with a bunch of roses. Most awkward door I have ever answered. Fastest door I have ever slammed. P good sex though 8/10. Singing at someone. Recently watched Top Gun again, and the scene in the bar is so disgusting. Then he follows her into the bathroom, even when she is there with another man and had told him no. Someone coming home and finding their entire apartment full of flowers when the sender obviously had no legal way to get in. Telling someone you have feelings for them using handwritten signs and a cheap tape player outside their home just weeks after their wedding, at which you were the best man, while her husband, who is your best friend, sits inside watching a ducking quiz show. Kissing someone who is asleep. When the couple gets into a fight and is on a break or broke up, and then she comes home and there is rose petals and stuff that is all supposed to be a sweet romantic thing, and he tells her he is sorry and how much he loves her. Dude broke into her house and could totally be there to murder her so they can be together forever. Clearly he wasn't accepting the breakup. Going to their window that's on the second floor of the house and hitting the window with a rock until they open it. Whole plot of There's Something About Mary is repulsive. So many red flags. I felt so bad for Cameron Diaz's character. Basically Mary was this all-around dream girl that boys went nuts over her. The men pretended they were someone else to win over Mary. She was constantly stalked. In the end, she had to pick who she wanted to date, and the choices were a pizza guy who pretended to be a British architect. He befriended her and tricked her for so long. Her high school ex whom she filed a restraining order on. This character is married with kids. That's so crazy. A horny con artist. Ben Stiller, who isn't better than the rest of them. And her athlete ex, the only guy that wasn't creepy. All the stalking and pretending in that movie made me so uncomfortable. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.